Hi, Jesse.
Hi, what's going on?
How are you?
Fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's so nice to have you here.
Thank you.
So this fireside chat, believe it or not, this is just us chatting. And what we really want, besides the conversation that we're going to have, that we're going to subject you all to, is we would love your feedback, your questions, your engagement. So come on, guys. Okay, so everybody who just heard what I said, raise your right hand. Wait, I said it right, not left. Just mess with you. All right, awesome. Thank you, guys. So let's get started. What are we talking about today?
So Jesse and I had a conversation, and we were curious to talk about, I should know, customer journeys, and I think media and advertising.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And so the theme of this was recycling the basics, basically. You know, I don't know about you guys, but we're constantly challenged by you guys to figure out the best way to use not just our media, but the media in the marketplace. So
That is true. So when Jesse and I were speaking, I mean, how many of you here are in a relationship? Okay, how many of you are in a relationship and the other person knows they're in a relationship? So, I mean, what I was telling Jesse was, if you think about how relationships work, often, even for a lot of you guys today, when you walked into the room, there's something we noticed about you. How you dressed, for some of you, your makeup, for some of you, it's a smile you had on your face. And ideally, that's where most relationships start, right? And then we move into, we call that in marketing, we call that awareness. You're aware and in the room, right? If you're single, you want to be made, people need to be aware you are there. That is how it begins. So there's the second thing is, so you look good, and then what does somebody do? Someone comes up to you and they probably notice your scent, the way you smell. They might hear your voice, they might hear you giggle. And they might be like, ooh, I like that scent, or I like the giggle. And that's consideration. Consideration is when not only do I know you exist, but I'm endeared towards you. And then we get to the line when a guy or a girl says, hey, can we go for a movie, or can we go for coffee? Can I take you to Java? And that's called trial. Okay? So no commitment has been made, but I'm like, can we meet and see how this is actually working?
can we go right to conversion?
Yeah. No. And ideally, actually, that's a very good point, because a lot of people want to jump to conversion, which is, Tinder. But even Tinder has awareness and consideration, because the whole concept of swiping, right? But from trial, you move to conversion. And conversion is, I want to have more dates with you. I want to see you more. I want to get more intimate. I want to share a bit more of my life with you. And then you have loyalty, which is, I want the world to know we're dating, and exclusively so. And to be honest, relationships are very similar to marketing. That's what we're here to talk about, which is, do we forget as marketers, as brands, that people still want to be taken through a journey? Whether they're a 2-year-old child all the way to a 92-year-old person, and how does that affect then how we advertise?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that's funny is in our initial conversation, we were talking about having this chat with you guys. Excuse me. One of the things that we both agreed on was this customer journey idea and how close it was to dating. And my version of it was very similar. And I've used it in teaching. And one thing that didn't come up, I was at MediaCom for 6 years. And I headed up global digital for 4 of those, and I started an internal business in MediaCom for 2. So I know marketing, I know digital marketing really, really well. So the Akili stuff is awesome, but I'm not here representing Akili. I'm representing marketing as a practice, which I know most of you are very interested in. Marketing has a couple different pieces, right? So there's marketing, which is, hey, I'm going to put something in front of you. And then there is, the way PR thinks about marketing. And most of you have seen this thing back here, or a version of it called the marketing funnel. And if you've seen a funnel anytime in your career ever, raise your left hand. Okay. All right. Yeah. Good call. Good call. Switchback. I caught that last second. So it's different for everybody, right? I mean, it's the same structure, which is at the top of it, you're making people aware, but at the bottom of it, there's something we're really going for, right? And some marketing, like, we're just going for conversion. Some marketing is like, oh, I just want people to be aware. But really, I don't know. I've owned a lot of businesses and been part of a lot of businesses. And you don't do marketing just to make people aware. You do marketing to get them into the funnel.
So like a really good example would be climate change, right? So I think growing up, I always knew there's a hole in the ozone layer. But I don't think it's ever meant to have done anything about it, right? And that's sometimes the problem. If you make people aware, you're gonna die. But you don't give me, okay, so what do I do with the upcoming death? How can I prevent it? How can I engage? And so I actually believe at the COVID, awareness for awareness sake makes no sense, because what then do you want people to do with the knowledge of the information? And also the other problem is, if you make me aware so much, I could also take you for granted, right? So you only ever notice, and I mean the best example I use for this is like, okay, really bad example, but moms, if you're a mom, you breastfeed your child, you change their diaper, but you're always there, they don't care. The dad walks into the room, he's the coolest thing ever. It's exactly the same concept. You can be aware so much, people are aware you exist, but because you don't play or trying to drive an active role, then you become wallpaper, Yeah.
Agreed. And the funny thing that I experienced, especially when talking about digital marketing in this process, a lot of folks I've worked with in the past said, well, it doesn't work like this anymore. And I even though they say that, I gotta say, even if I'm aware of you from Insta and from television or from print, and then I can engage with you on YouTube, and then I can consider you on your website, and then I can convert on IG because suddenly I realized, hey, you know what? That's what's relevant to me. I think these are the things. It doesn't matter where it happens. What matters is the behavior of how.
I mean, examples. So ChatGPT, who here at least has used it, right? You didn't see an ad for it, did you? No, but there was an awareness moment. In fact, the awareness for me was my brother. My brother's a techie, and he came and was like, oh my gosh, there's this really cool thing. And it was an awareness back. And I think ChatGPT did a really good job of leveraging developers, right, in GPT-1 that I understood they had previous versions to drive a lot of the hype around it. And now look, it's got, I don't know, hundreds of millions of users in like a week. So I do think you can go through the funnel very quickly, but I don't think you can.
You can't jump ahead.
Jump through, right?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna marry a stranger. I still have to know who you are.
Yes, absolutely. What's the Netflix show where you just meet someone and then at the end of the show you marry them? And there is a show that does that, but it's still the same premise. And you're meeting them and you're aware, and oh my gosh, she's cute, and ooh, let me see if she'll want to hang out with me, and then I'll just jump past consideration because that's like hello. Oh, yeah. And then conversion is, hey, we're hitting it off, so take the cameras down. We haven't reached this last part yet, but I do want to address it. For a lot of people, the marketing funnel stops at the purchase or the conversion. So what is that about?
So advocacy is a tricky one because advocacy is about monogamy, right? So I'll give you guys an example. Before COVID or before the current, economic situation, I used to buy very specific brands for my home, and I was loyal to a certain extent, right? With the current prices of tissue paper, I just want something that works. So there's the reality that consumers oscillate between what I can afford and the needs that I have. A brand with a very strong loyalty, it means Marion is willing to say, even if I can't afford it, I can't compromise on this item. And everybody has things that they're loyal, die hard to. I'm loyal to my baby's, diapers, Morphix. I'm loyal to the deal that I use because I know a cheaper deal is gonna burn me. You know, I'm loyal to the place where I buy my vegetables because I know it's organic. They don't use fertilizer. So there's a reason why I'm loyal. I'm willing to say it's gonna cost me more, but I want to spend. Unfortunately, most brands don't think loyalty is important. But let me shock you. Even in Kenya, as much as people have been shifting brands, there's certain brands that have not lost their share, right? Even with the recession, even with guys cutting back, there's certain brands we're seeing that have been able to penetrate through because you were just too loyal to you. So I do think it's certainly important. I just don't think brands realize it. I think they only realize it when they start losing share. They think it's a price issue, but I do think there's something deeper around, are you worth me committing to?
Yeah. Well, so in my opinion, this last bit, whether it's loyalty or advocacy or influence, where does influence come from? Influence is the artificial movement of advocacy to the awareness level, which works sometimes and a lot of times it doesn't. And by the way, you guys have all bought into it. No, I'm just kidding. But look, advocacy and loyalty are two different things. Let's go back to the dating analogy. Okay, I got all the way down, we met up. You're so awesome, I can't wait to tell all my friends about you. I'm gonna tell my mom. My mom is gonna love you. I'm taking this to the next level. And by the way, I'm telling all my friends how great you are. And so I think that part of it, that influence, is the thing that we miss sometimes. And you can buy the product, you can love the product, but when you tell other people how much that product means to you, suddenly they try that product. And probably more realistically than an influencer.
It's true. Like, I'll tell you the two things. One, my son was born, the car that we had was a Subaru. See me on the side if you want to know how I was tricked into thinking Subarus are low fuel. But when we had to get a car that was more fuel efficient, we moved to a car called Renault. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Renault, right? My son is so upset because he doesn't know what a Renault is. So what he used to find a lot of pride in, he used to go to parking lots and every time he sees a Subaru, he's really excited. For him, even when people come to visit us, he asks, what car do you have? Do you have a Subaru? Like, Subaru is the coolest brand ever, and he's 3 years old, right? And so you're right, advocacy could even be, I've not even experienced it, but I love what I've seen enough to tell everything. But the second thing is, there's a brand, guys, that I loved with my heart, and I recruited everyone in my life to join. And the brand turned orange the other day with their financial app. I don't appreciate it. And all the people I recommended called me the chick. What's with your brand, right? But I was willing to advocate for them because I love the product. I love what they were doing. And the charges were free. It was fantastic. So you're right. Advocates can drive your brand much further, versus loyalty. I'm loyal, but I don't want to tell anybody about you. But your advocacy that I wanted the whole world to hear about the brand that way.
Absolutely. So another funny story, and I'm tying this a little bit back to the Akili ideology, just for a moment. And so I'm going to be a bougie American for a second and talk about going back to New York and us talking about how much money we were spending on gas, but we should really get an electric car. We went to test drive a Tesla. And it was cool. I'm in there, it's like, that car practically talks to you. I mean, it massages you, like it's crazy, right? So I put the kids in the back and I test drove it around the neighborhood because actually the Tesla dealership in Brooklyn is right down the street from our house. So anyway, point is, put the kids in the back, the kids are like oohing and eyeing, we're driving around the Tesla, and then my son says, there's not that much space back here because we have a big car. And then my daughter goes, yeah, how are we going to fit blah, 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 how are we going to fit, I didn't buy the Tesla. So what do you learn from that? Influence that can happen from anyone.
Oh yeah, I mean, anyone who's ever worked on Omo area will tell you the number one person we used to target was house elves. Because if your nanny tells you this soap is burning her hands, you are going to change the soap, yes? Right? If your nanny tells you, or your household tells you, something is soaking the clothes and removing the stains, you're going to switch it. She has a bigger influence over certain decisions in your home than you do, even though you're the one who's actually paying the money. I can tell you for Coca-Cola company, We know for a fact Fanta exists because we need teens to recommend us. We need kids to recommend us in the homes. Because mom will keep buying you because the kid is like, Mom, buy the Fanta orange or buy the Fanta blackcurrant. And so our kids do influence, our households influence. There's people in our lives that influence the decisions we make. And I think it's almost a really good marketer has the humility to know that. To recognize it's not who has the money, it's who has the power in the decision on the money that's being made. Another example is, when I was growing up, my mom was a stay-at-home mom for a bit. She was a teacher and then she stayed at home to homeschool us a bit. And while she wasn't earning an income, my mom made the decisions about the things that we would eat, the things we would drink, where we would live. It's another good example. Just because a man may be bringing home the check or a woman may be bringing home the check, who's actually making the purchase, who's influencing the purchase decision. But the hardest thing is for marketing directors, CEOs, marketing planners, media planners to just have the humility to say, I don't think you're the one deciding, and I'm going to go out to the person who actually decides for you.
Yeah, agreed. So this wonderful woman here reads. She has a book in her bag. And how awesome was that? So I'm sitting with her and she pulls a book out and then we say, you know what? This is the way I don't read on Kindle, I read books. And I said, well, I read on Kindle and then I buy the book. And she's like, oh. And so we had commonality here. And now, you know what will happen? I'm also telling this to you. Tomorrow when you say, I recommend a book, I'm gonna go check it out. Because now I trust her. And I trust her because we formed a relationship. And we went through this. We met each other a couple days ago on Zoom. Yeah. And then we had a conversation quickly about what we were going to talk about. We both vibed on it. We thought about independently, I'm sure, what we were going to talk about. We sat down here and had a nice conversation. And right now we are converting you guys. Ha, ha. And at the end of this, we're hoping, what you take home, you'll tell to your friends, your peers, your family, and you'll advocate for not Akili, not MediaCom, for marketing, and for humans and human behavior. Anything you want to add?
No, that's such a mic drop moment.
Thank you guys for listening to us ramble.